You know, it's pretty hard to do an adaptation right, but it is pretty cool to see where it goes, a lot of the time. Sometimes not so much. So I decided to check on the different Mao Maos from Volume 1, which is only episodes 1 to 12. So let's give it a look. Generally, I'm gonna go in order of episodes. Even just at the start, we get a little bit of addition from the anime. Whereas the light novel and manga start off already in the Inner Palace, it feels like the anime made things a bit more fluid, giving us some early info like her messed up arm. And that brings us to the Inner Palace, which honestly looks stunning. It is toned down though. The novel is quite specific, saying things like, the railing was worked with elaborate carvings and brightly colored dragons climb the vermilion pillars. Honestly asking for a lot. But anyways, this is where Mao Mao pays Zhao Dan in food and hears about the baby deaths. And while they are dying from the face powder, the light novel gives a bit more explanation, which is that the poison is in the mother's bloodstream, making their milk poisonous. Wonder if it changed the flavor.
What?
So a quote we get is cool, one that I liked, where they said, "Ignorance is a sin. I should have taken more care with what was going into my child's mouth." Though she couldn't have really known. On the other hand, Gyokuyo actually only becomes the Emperor's favorite because of his bereavement. Turns out dude's sad his children are dying. Who would have guessed? Thankfully, thanks to Mao Mao, that's over. I'm just gonna take a second here while speaking of Mao Mao just to mention that she does actually differ a bit in the novels. She's just less expressive in general, which understandably you can't really have in manga or anime. Similarly, both cut out how much she thinks to herself, because it's a lot. Like when Jinshi susses her out, she surmises that he took calligraphy samples from everyone who could write first to compare to her message before looking for girls who could not write. Jinshi himself actually differs a bit as well. He's aware that he's really good looking and he takes advantage of it, but he actually hates to do it. He finds he is painfully average at everything he does, so he'll use whatever tools he has at his disposal, no matter how, as he describes, repugnant it is. So we know Mao Mao goes to work as a poison tester for the 19-year-old Gyokuyo, only 2 years older than herself. Turns out she's the third poison tester as of late, both previous ones having been, well, poisoned. One got off pretty well without injury, but the other had been subjected to a nerve toxin and had their arms and legs paralyzed. Great. I also just want to say this face was great. But so starts the life of Detective Mao Mao, which the manga starts off strong by entirely skipping the army men making chopsticks. It just didn't have it. At least it still had the chocolate, though the novel had more in its chocolate. The manga and the novel both explain how the cooling system works too. It's not something I knew about. The water's evaporation causes the inside to become cooler, hardening the chocolate fats, kinda like when you're freezing when getting out of the shower. It's actually a bit surprising though how much the manga leaves out, even though the anime takes a lot of visuals from the manga. Like the manga doesn't mention the poison needle in Gyokuyo's clothing, it takes out Mao Mao talking to Xiaolan about the sleepwalking, hell, it doesn't even mention the sexually needy woman banging at night. Wait, neither did the anime. I guess Marine was right all along.
女子しかいないとマジでレズになるんだわ。これマジ、これマジ。
Though what the anime did do was give a happy ending for the princess. It confirmed Mao Mao was right, but the other two never really confirmed it, left it pretty open. Which brings us to the Lady Lifa is dying, please help arc section, whatever, where the anime once again uses Xiaolon like a crutch to explain things. I wouldn't consider that a bad thing though, it's more fluid than Mao Mao just internalizing everything like in the book. Just like how it adds physical reactions to Jinshi touching Mao Mao. In the novel, it really is just a running joke about how she looks at him as dirt, a caterpillar, a bug, garbage, a dead fish, but not a nice dead fish, like a bottom-dwelling fish nobody wants to look at. It's oddly specific sometimes. And still with the trend of skipping things, the manga skips Jinshi coming to visit during the nursing period. I guess one last thing to mention for this is that the anime added a, redemption for the dumb girl who did the makeup, whereas the manga just sent her home. I don't think anything happened to her in the book though. Last mention of her was the young woman Mao Mao had upbraided seemed to have learned something from it. Mostly fear. And not to rip on the manga again, but it once again just skipped the issue with the fire. The anime followed the novel for it, so there's not much to say about it otherwise. We did get a cool scene with Jinshi sparring in the anime, which wasn't anywhere else though. This is also where it mentions that Mama actually has some freckles tattooed onto her face. She was experimenting to make it more permanent, and boy did her father not like that. Also, for some reason in my notes I wrote that the anime is beautifully done. So yeah, there's that. Not really related to much. Garden party time! Let me just say though, while not explicitly stated, the Empress Dowager was 10 when she got pregnant and gave birth to the current emperor at 11. That's pretty messed up, man. Not quite as messed up is Mao Mao sexually harassing a girl. This is a fun passage. Mao Mao had found her when she was alone once and pinned her against a wall, sliding a knee between the girl's thighs and tickling the nape of her neck with one finger. Though, as much as she torments the other ladies in waiting and they fear her, she does mention funny, it still hurts, when they run away from her. We also get a bit more about Rishu in the novel. She left to become a nun because, by abandoning the world, that is, becoming a nun for a brief time, it was considered to be as if she had never served the previous emperor. That is questionable at best, which Mao Mao also thinks. Okay, halfway there. More addition from the anime, having Mao Mao dream about her dad, which I suppose is thematic for the episode. Anywho, there's another instance here where silence was vocalized. The light novel says Gaoshun said nothing, suggesting her reputation was poor in the circles he ran. Kinda hard to say that without words. What they did try to say without words was Jinshi's hairpin. Did anime-only viewers have any idea what the hell that was? I definitely needed the book to tell me. It was a Keelin? A sort of cross between a deer and a horse. It was said to be the chief of the sacred beasts, so only people of considerable rank could wear it. Sorry, I'm using a lot of quotes, but this next one I really want to use. They passed under an ornate gate, and then a world painted in a riot of colors spread out before them. This is just captured so well in the anime. Okay, that was the last quote for a bit, but now we're in the next bit. I actually found this to be kind of interesting. The anime made this girl so obviously evil. The manga was less obvious, and the book wasn't obvious at all. I guess for foreshadowing reasons, but it still felt a bit heavy-handed to me. Sorry, not here for my opinions. I kinda just wish the anime did what the book Mao Mao did after stealing the knife from the girl. She just fully slapped her. The rest follows exactly the same, until the bath scene that didn't exist in the novel or manga. It's also a bit different coming back to Jinshi, who was a lot more aggressive in the novel, even insulting Lihaku. But I like the way the anime made him freak out. Very fun. And I know I said no quotes, but I like this one. His voice like honey in her ear. Wolfsbane honey, that was. Poisonous. Oh, the foreshadowing. Is it obvious I'm just going episode by episode and have no idea how to link them? Okay, unlike me, the anime real fluid with the intro to episode 9 showing the dude's death and then going right into it. From the manga and novel perspective, we just jumped straight into someone died, fix it. But we have another instance of requiring more vocal explanations because in the novel she summarized the assault being a bad practical joke in her head and let everyone do the math because they're smart enough. Also in the novel, Mao Mao explicitly says she isn't going to ask about Jinshi's relationship to Koen because that might be a landmine. And now my smooth transition into the suicide. I don't know how I was supposed to get here otherwise, but I only have one thing to say. The anime added more dialogue talking about death and added an extra scene. On to the final bit, honey. I am once again here to take a stab at the manga. It does not remark the bandages on Fang Ming's arm, which I feel is kinda important. It also changes the reason Mao Mao suspects Fang Ming, saying she investigated her room and saw the slipper from the girl who killed herself. As much as that would be proof, there is no reason she would have that shoe. She would have gotten rid of it for sure. Anyways, we all know what happens next with Fang Ming. She has a little bit of a breakdown, which doesn't really happen in the novel. The novel says she looked like a woman racked with regret, which quite possibly could include a full breakdown, so I don't know if it really counts as a difference. What definitely is a difference though is the fate of Fang Ming. As the novel put it, dead by her own hand. Not quite the turned herself in the other two said. Naturally, that means she was only executed in those two. So I guess ultimately her fate was the same. I also like that the novel mentioned Mao Mao flinched when Jinshi went to move towards her after the honey incident on his fingers. Kinda creepy. And as always, we get a bit more insight into the brain of Mao Mao and why she climbed the wall in the book. She just wanted to share a drink with the moon, but didn't have alcohol, but she admitted it felt good to be above it all, and enjoyed the view. Home stretch now. Mao Mao returns home and goes to that party thanks to Gao Shun's hard work, which according to the light novel, he went through great pains to set up. The anime did a cool thing with the event, though it wasn't really animated per se, I still like that it was added. Random thing, in the light novel and manga, the patrons were sitting on the ground, low Asian style tables, but in the anime they're all on chairs and stuff. Definitely made it obvious who the depressed guy was, but that's kinda unavoidable. The novel just has to leave out details and has an easy way around it. Anyways, party ends and Mao Mao has some nice anime-only flashbacks, an anime-only bath scene, an anime-only drink in the snow, and more anime-only flashbacks. Rounded it all off pretty well. And that's pretty well all I got, though I skipped some minor points along the way, but let me just speed run a small list of tiny things I have here. The light novel says 500 eunuchs work in the back palace, anime says 1,000. Mao Mao didn't admit to being an apothecary in the light novel, became obvious later though. Jinshi wants to find who wrote the note, not Gyokyo. Hong should be missing more often because she cares for the princess. Mao Mao slapped the lady in waiting with her left hand. Mao Mao only feeds Yaolan sweet, they're fighting with a group of women, not just two. All of Gyokuyo's ladies in waiting got hairpins too. Lishu is allergic to abalone. Mao Mao's dad covers her with a kimono when she slept, which is cute. Mao Mao's dad had a weird box with something unmentioned in it, kinda curious. The alcohol ban is until 21 in the light novel, not 20, that might be a localization thing. Lishu's two ladies in waiting stand behind her, not really a difference, but Ao and the Emperor were quote milk siblings, and that's that. It was a pretty good adaptation if you ask me, but if you made it this far, if you liked it, I'd appreciate a like, a sub, whatever you want. But if you want the next 12 episodes, you're gonna have to ask, cause it does take some effort to do. Anyways, I'll catch you next time.